After serving in the military, many veterans use their GI Bill to get a college education. Re-entering civilian life and sitting in a classroom with people who are possibly a lot younger or with limited life experiences can be a bit of a challenge. We interviewed 6 student veterans for a program called Enlisted to Enrolled. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll find the link to that in the description below. In this video, you're going to see an expanded version of an interview with just one of those veterans. The stories and perspectives coming from him may surprise you.
So years ago, I was in school. Too expensive, way too expensive, and eventually the money runs dry. I figured, why not the military? It's something I never took seriously, but I knew was a viable option for the position I was in. The first day of boot camp sucks. They keep you up for about 36 hours, and you're yelled at the whole time. They shave your hair off. You don't keep the contacts that you have in your eyes. You don't keep the glasses you have. They give you a government issue set of glasses. They take away your clothing. They put you into a shower with 30 other people, and everything is completely different. It's awful. And I remember I was shaving, and one of my what's called recruit division commanders came up to me, and he came right here, and he started yelling at me, "Baggio, you better shave that shit right now, Baggio." Just right in my ear. And here I am thinking, God, what the hell am I doing here? And the entire time I was thinking of Muhammad Ali's quote, "Don't quit, suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." And that's what I thought about my military service, as being a stepping stone into something greater. I served on USS George H.W. Bush as a mass communications specialist. I was a videographer, a graphic designer, a photographer, a journalist, and a bunch of other different things and different volunteer positions that I did. My first, what I call my first day in the Navy, was when we pulled into the port in Oman called Duqm. They sent me topside on my ship with a telephoto lens, and they gave me a 9mm pistol. I said, all right, what you're doing here is you're going to be taking photos of the geography, and if you see a sniper, you got a 9mm pistol with you, so you should be fine. And I thought, what? I'll take a shot at him if I get a chance, I suppose. But anyways, while we were up there, at one point we hear this tremendous pop. Bunch of people duck, other people point their weapons at the Omanians, they point back at us, and it's like, oh crap. I was sitting on the edge of the flight deck thinking, I could die here. What the f***? You got lousy food, you got horrible hours, everything's dirty and everything else like that. But you could be doing the worst jobs imaginable, but if you have your buddies with you, you can handle it. When you're out to sea, you make friends with the people who work with you pretty quick. But that friendship to me means a lot more, because we go through so much together. I have made some of the best buddies I've ever made, and I came to be closer with those guys and girls more than the people who actually were my family. So on August 17th of 2018, we had this young guy. He was 21. His name was Joseph Naglak, and he was hit by the propeller of a plane on the flight deck of my ship, the USS George H.W. Bush. It was my job to take the photos of his body, of the blood, of the bones, and everything else that was on the flight deck that day. It was that moment that lives with me today. In the coming days, I would help take the photos of his fly-off from the carrier when they draped the American flag over his coffin. I would, in the coming weeks, interview his friends, his family, his his fiance, and everyone else that knew him, because I wrote a story about him. And it was his death that changed who I was. I don't know how to describe the person I was prior to the Navy, but you could say it was bitter. I hated that I worked so hard all the time to get nowhere, and I was pretty angry, I think. But seeing this life taken away from someone far too young completely changed who I was, It changed what I wanted to do. I always thought I would do law enforcement. But writing that story about him, I'd always enjoyed writing, but doing a piece about his life made me want to pursue journalism because I saw the importance of a story or of the photos that I could produce. I saw that those are the only things his family is going to get from his passing. It was the end of an incredibly long year when I left the military. We had gone out to sea 124 days that year. And that's the time where I really came to depend on the people I was working with. Friends, family, really. So leaving them for me was hard. On the drive away from Norfolk, Virginia, and seeing my ship in the rearview mirror for what will be the last time for a long time, because I do plan on visiting it again, I got teary. I thought about everything I was leaving, and I was going into a future where I do have a plan, I do have goals, but it was so, I want to say scary, leaving that network behind and going into the future on my own. I got out in January of 2019, and now I'm here in Rockville, Maryland, going to Montgomery College. Starting school for me was not too difficult, I want to say. It's definitely different. I have a lot more free time than I used to. I remember searching for backpacks online prior to getting out, and I seen all these backpacks with USB chargers in them. I'm thinking, what the hell happened to backpacks? They used to be so simple. A lot less discipline, a lot more hunched shoulders when people are sitting, a lot more people speaking when they shouldn't be, and that was tough at first. And the first day I did tell a kid to shut up, and that's just how we spoke. Well, that's okay, whatever, that's the lingo. Here you get in trouble, people get upset, people cry, all that stuff. You get reported. Deadlines are still here, but it's not the same as the military where someone's, expecting you to do the job correctly and doing it on time. Whereas here, you're able to kind of get away with pushing a deadline back if you have the right professor. And I have not had too difficult of a time fitting in, I think. At least I think. I don't know. I have been told I can be slightly rough around the edges. I've not really felt like I didn't belong. There are plenty of people who are older, who come from different countries and things like that. And overall, I think it's actually a pretty accepting community here at this school. For the most part, yes, people do know I'm a veteran. I certainly speak a little differently sometimes. I'm more direct, I think. I also speak to my professors a lot, and typically I do struggle with homework a little bit sometimes, or classwork and everything else like that. I have a 4.0 currently, my GPA, but that's because I speak to my professors, and a lot of times the fact that I am a veteran does come up. So as a result, a lot of my classmates kind of learned that pretty quick, because they may just ask, "Oh, so Joe, what was it like in deploying? How could what you've done apply to this class?" Things like that, and people kind of figure it out that way. For the most part, I do hang out with a lot of other veterans. They understand where you're coming from. I think a lot of veterans also understand what being a friend means. Veterans understand what you go through with them, whereas here with civilians, you don't want to start immediately say, "Hey, let's go out to eat," or anything else like that, because it's like you're being too pushy or being too needy, things like that. And it's presented different challenges. Being in the military, it's a definite love and hate relationship. You hate it when you're there, you love it when you get out. If someone asked me, "Hey Joe, hey Baggio, do you want to go out to sea next week?" I would absolutely do it. Strange to say, but at the same time, I don't want to do it again either. I don't know how to describe it. I work for a grocery store now, and it's just, of course, it's not the same. I don't have those buddies, and I don't sleep next to them. I don't eat with them. I don't argue with them or play video games or work together. Not like we did in the military, and that was lonely for me when I first got out. I came to depend on those relationships, and once that was gone, it was difficult. So after graduating from Montgomery College, my goal is to get to Boston University, and after graduating from there, hopefully with a degree in journalism, my goal is to do war correspondence. I love it. I love how difficult it is. I love telling that story about people who don't get a story told about them. I don't care about political journalism. I don't care about, covering the local YMCA opening or anything else like that. What I care about is telling that story about those people who would be ignored. I like the bright spots that there are in the world despite war happening. Or I like to know the stories and tell the stories about the people who do go to war. I think they deserve more than they get.